You're now tuned into the Lady Charmaine live show, and I'm your host, Lady Charmaine. And as always, I have another great interview for you today. Now, you think of a historian or finding your roots, or how about even your ancestors? This person just might come to mind, and I tell you who it is coming up right after this. My guest today is a literary critic, teacher, historian, filmmaker, and professor. And he hosts one of my favorite shows, Finding Your Roots. And he is here today to talk about the free online teaching platform, Selma Online, on the 55th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Help me welcome to the Lady Charmaine live show, Mr. or Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lady Charmaine, and I love being on your program from Sacramento because that, of course, is the home of one of my closest friends, a man I deeply admire, a genius named Cornel West, and he loves Sacramento, so this is a great honor for me.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the air, and I'm sure he's going to love to hear this because when this airs, I know he's going to say, hey, that's one of my good friends too. So thank you for coming on the show. Also, I have a question for you. How are you holding up during this whole coronavirus crisis? Are you sheltering in? How are you keeping busy?
Well, we're sheltering in. We have our home right in Harvard Square. My wife's an historian. Fortunately, we have enough room. She has a study on one floor, and I work on another floor, so we don't drive each other crazy. But we are sheltering in because this is a serious crisis, and we are following the rules very, very carefully. I never could imagine sanitizing so many things as much as we do, and we're praying for those who are ill and the families who are grieving for losses, and we're hoping that the good Lord helps us get through this plague, which is confronting not only Americans but the whole wide world.
Yes, it is. And of course, here in California, we're definitely sheltering in place, and we can't wait till God decides that when he lifts this and how we're going to come out of this. And I pray we come out of this as better people during this downtime, the things that we're learning and just getting back to the simple things like family. Eating together, talking.
That's true. Eating together, talking, and learning together. In fact, obviously, we could have no idea that when we released Selma Online, which we released, as you said, on the 55th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, which was March 7th, 1965, the historic Selma to Montgomery March was led by Martin Luther King, and which culminated in the passage of the Voting Rights Act, which gave our people in the South the right to vote once again, which had been taken away at the end of Reconstruction. We had no idea that all teaching would be conducted through distance learning because all the schools are shut. And so the timing is horrible, but it is ideal for a teacher who is searching for tools to use to create distance learning curricula, because it's a free online website. You remember Ava DuVernay's film Selma, which won so many awards, right?
Absolutely.
Well, because of Ava is a good friend and a brilliant filmmaker, we used 12 scenes from Selma as the one in each chapter of this website, and she let us use them for free. And so it is a beautiful website, very seductive and very compelling, because it has this actual film footage from this great film. And I want to tell you about the history of the idea. When the film came out, a group of black businessmen led by three my friends, William Lewis at Lazar Fair, and Ken Chenault, the former CEO of American Express, and Charles Phillips, the CEO of a company called Infor, got together with other black businessmen, and Charmaine, they raised $3 million so that 300,000 students in 33 cities could see Ava DuVernay's film Selma for free. And then another member of the group, Richard Parsons, who was a former CEO of Time Warner, again, all these people are African Americans, he called me and he said he had this idea that we could create a website, a teaching tool for free, totally free online, that would use Ava's film as the storyboard, and we could teach both the history of the Selma March and, Charmaine, the history of the whole civil rights movement. And he then got the Rockefeller Foundation to fund it. And I am one of the hats I wear is that I'm the director of the Hutchins Center for African American Research at Harvard. And we partnered with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and then we hired a media firm in L.A. called Left Field Labs. And I got two historians who were on our staff, Dr. Kevin Burke and Stephen Nivens, and they directed the project in consultation with scholars all across the country. It took 5 years, and we finished, and we released it on March the 7th. And we wanted to make sure that it worked for students, so we did a trial run, like good academics, in 6 middle and high schools all across the country. And it led to students from at least 3 of the schools beginning to discuss organizing voter registration drives in their community. We went to Taft High School in Chicago, the Academy for Academics and Arts in Huntsville, Alabama, Owensboro High School in Owensboro, Kentucky, Satanta High School in Satanta, Kansas, Meade High School in Meade, Kansas, and Albany High School in your very own California, in Albany, California. And we tested it, then we refined it, and then we turned it loose. And Charmaine, what we found out was that too many students, white and black, are not learning about pivotal moments in our history or the lessons of the civil rights movement.
Right.
Many of them didn't know what Bloody Sunday was. And they just take it for granted that the civil rights movement, what do they learn in Black History Month? Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, and then the assassination, and then they skip to Barack Obama's election. That's Black History Month. Or maybe they start with Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass,
And Rosa
then they
Parks.
go to, and Rosa Parks, and then they go to I Have a Dream, and that's it.
Right.
But we need my motto is that every day should be Black History Month. And the way that you affect that is to create education tools that can be integrated in the curriculum and used in American history courses, in African American history courses, in American literature courses. One teacher is using Selma Online to help teach To Kill a Mockingbird, which is required in just about every school in the United States. So Selma Online is designed to change the fact that students aren't learning about the civil rights movement. And we need to understand the history of the civil rights movement to understand present-day iniquities, present-day racism, present-day challenges to the right to vote. And you know as well as I do that since 2018, 5 states have advanced bills trying to restrict voting rights. And guess who's disproportionately affected by those bills? Us, African Americans. And then they have to realize how far we've come. A year before the Voting Rights was signed in August of 1965, Mississippi had the lowest African American voter registration rate in the nation. Charmaine, 6.7% of African Americans only 6.7% of African Americans could vote in Mississippi in 1964. By 1968, nationally, the percentage of African American voter registration in the South had increased to 62%. And in 2000, African American voter registration across the South remained at a steady 65%. But people were trying to take away our people's right to vote through these ingenious mechanisms and these schemes. So my goal is to teach how our ancestors fought for the precious right to vote, starting with Reconstruction, which gave black men the right to vote in the South. Do you know that when black men got the right to vote in 1867 in 10 of the 11 former Confederate states, 80% of those brothers, most of whom were illiterate, of course, because it was illegal to teach enslaved people to read and write. 80%, Charmaine, registered to vote in the Freedom Summer of 1867. And in 1868, 500,000 of them cast their votes, and they elected Ulysses S. Grant president of the United States because he only won the popular vote by 300,000 votes. And this scared the daylights out of the former Confederates and even some white people in the North. And as you know, Reconstruction came to a screeching halt in 1877 with the Hayes-Tilden Compromise. And then these former Confederate states wrote new state constitutions starting in 1890 with Mississippi, taking away black men's right to vote. I'll tell you how dramatically effective it was. In 1898, there were 130,000 black men registered to vote in Louisiana. By 1904, that number had been reduced because of these new state constitutions to 1,342. That's horrible. And so the Selma March was all about restoring the right to vote that black men had once had, and then black women, of course, after the 19th Amendment, and then all of which was taken away most effectively by these racist state constitutions throughout the South. And John Lewis was beaten on Pettus Bridge on March the 7th, Bloody Sunday, and Martin Luther King's life was threatened and ultimately taken away so that we would have our equal rights in general, but especially the right to vote. The right to vote is the central tenet of our democracy, and it's important that everyone who listens to your wonderful program registers to vote and votes. And no general election is more important than the one coming up this November. My Lord.
Now, how do we encourage our young people to really understand that their voice really does matter? Because sometimes young people don't think that their voice matters. How do we encourage them to let them know that you do matter?
Well, I think that if teachers use this curriculum, which is, again, designed around, in general, the history of the Civil Rights Movement, but more specifically, the history of the right to vote, then I think it will become second nature to people, that they'll understand that this is a precious aspect of our the perquisites of citizenship, and that racists have tried to take away our right to vote systematically since we got it. And the only reason they've spent so much energy doing that is because there is power in the ballot. Collectively, if we all vote, just like those black men collectively elected Ulysses S. Grant president in 1868, we can determine the outcome of the presidential election in the way that we did. Look how we stood in line all day and all night to elect Barack Obama twice. Well, we need to do that again. I mean, we have shown the power of the ballot by electing Barack Obama, and we can show the power of the ballot again by registering and voting in the fall. And so that's what this free online website is designed to do. It is designed to inspire our young people to register and to vote. And I also, not only is it's very accessible. You don't need a teacher to go on it. It's fun, and it's full of movies, right? You got 12 clips from Ava DuVernay. But with families looking, who are sheltered in place, looking for things to do, if you watch CNN all day long, you just get depressed. So you got to do something else. And, I'd love the idea of African American families sitting around and all watching Selma Online, because it's like a 12-chapter video fest. It is Black history told digitally using Ava DuVernay's film. And Ava, whom I love and admire, she arranged with the studio so that we could use these clips for free. And you know as well as I do, that's a miracle in and of itself.
When you said
nobody
free
in
earlier.
Hollywood is. Yeah, it's just like I'm just astonished and grateful to her. That's how devoted she is to the education of our people.
And lastly, where can people go online to take advantage of this free course?
Well, there are two sites, two different programs. One is www.selma, S-E-L-M-A, online.org. And the other project that Dylan McGee and I have been doing with the great, the philanthropist and billionaire Robert Smith, whom you know about, is called Black History in 2 Minutes. And Charmaine, we've made 2-minute videos, 60 2-minute videos covering every period of black history from slavery through the election of Barack Obama. And you could go online and watch these 2-minute videos because a lot of our young people have a short attention span. And they're very interesting and entertaining, and they cover every aspect of the black experience. And for that, just type in Black History in 2 Minutes, and you're taken to the website. And it is my hope that Selma Online and Black History in 2 Minutes will help to revolutionize how we teach the black experience in schools, because the black experience is not just for black people. The black experience is the American experience. You cannot have a true education in American history unless you understand the history of the contributions, the achievements, and the sacrifices of our African American ancestors.
Right.
And that's what my goal is. My goal is to teach, just like Brother Cornel West, for a proud son of Sacramento, California.
I have to move on, sir. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. And I want to remind the audience to make sure that you go online to Selma, I believe it's selmaonline.org, and get this wonderful history. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Gates, for sharing your story with us and this wonderful platform. And I want you to have a blessed day.
Oh, you have a blessed day, Lady Charmaine, and you keep up the great work. You're
Thank you.
inspirational.
Oh, thank you, sir. And again, don't forget to go online to selmaonline.org to make sure you get this wonderful platform, and also Black History in 2 minutes. And again, thank you so much to my very special guest today. This has been Lady Charmaine Live, and thank you guys so much for watching.